Hello traders at CMC Markets. Welcome to another update by RRG Research for Monday 28th of November. I'm recording this on Friday the 25th of November. My name is Trevor Neil and I'm presenting you on behalf of RRG Research from London. Let's start with the relative rotation graph, weekly sampling, with the MSCI in the middle and major global indices. Now previously we'd had the majority, apart from the Hang Seng, poor old Hang Seng, in the leading quadrant. But we've got a bounce now in the MSCI world, so basically the constituents have split up and some are heading quite strongly in the southwesterly direction, that is westerly, a weakening RS ratio, and southerly with low positive momentum, but some are retaining the northeasterly direction, the opposite, increasing relative strength and also momentum of the relative strength. Let's have a look. So here's the poor old Hang Seng, still heading in the wrong direction there. Now here the Nasdaq is still heading the wrong way. It's in the lagging quadrants, in the wrong place. We've watched that deteriorate and lead the deterioration of the major indices. S&P, heavyweight S&P itself, also not heading in the right direction, close to the crosshair of the MSCI world itself, so tracking it but weaker than it. Also the Nikkei 225 having moved from the leading quadrant into the weakening quadrant, and the FTSE 2 as well. So, and also the Russell 2000, the broad-based 2000. But we've got in here, we've got heading the Australian sort of slightly blunted, but still in the leading quadrant and still heading east. But we've got some very strong directional moves in the CAC 40, in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So interestingly that here the one US index is in the leading quadrant and heading in the right direction. We'll have a look at a chart of that in a moment. And the stocks and the DAX as well. And something which Julius picked out some recommendations in last week's edition. So let's look at some of the charts of these things now. Starting with the S&P, you can see here that this is being pressed by the declining highs pattern, declining lows pattern, and moving up towards the downtrend line, towards resistance from these lows in here and further here, but the downtrend line itself is still above us too. We have got a bullish divergence in the MACD, low, lower low, low, higher low here. So that's encouraging that this might ultimately be the end of the fall, but it is lagging behind. We see that in the RRG chart. We saw it there near the center and heading in a southwesterly direction, so it's not as attractive as some other things, as we will see. You will remember that the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up in the leading quadrant, heading strongly northeasterly, a very good RRG position. And look at here now the absolute chart. So we've broken through the 33,000, breaking up, testing the high of August, and looking strong as it does so, a strong uptrend line here since this low was made back at 29,000. Here below we've got the RRG lines, both the momentum and the ratio pointing up, so that is that northeasterly direction, rising ratio and rising momentum. Powering ahead here, looking very close to breaking these three lower highs in here, or has broken them already, about to break this high, it looks like, but given the power that it's got. It has got power. Let's look at the MACD. Here's the MACD here. The MACD separating from its moving average line here, rising momentum on this advance here, looking very good and very strong indeed. Now let's have a look at the German DAX. Remember, this was in our RRG chart, heading northeasterly and the one that was highest up, so the one with the most positive momentum. We broke this downtrend line. This is a weekly chart, incidentally, and we powered ahead since then, breaking through the resistance just below 14,000, heading towards the resistance at around 14,500, and then 15,000. The resistance intensifies a great deal. We have got on the RRG lines here both the RRG ratio and RS momentum rising strongly here. That's us being in that leading quadrant and heading in a northeasterly direction. The MACD here, very positive indeed, very strong indeed. Slight bullish divergence here, low, higher low, low, lower low. But the key thing is here that the weekly MACD is separating from its moving average line, meaning that we've got increased momentum on on the upside. Here's the RSI screeching ahead here. Yes, it's a very high reading, 80%. That's a hard number to maintain, but it's still been heading higher, not turning down as yet. And so, yes, there's resistance ahead. It may stumble at the resistance, but the RSI may pull back a bit, but it's looking very strong indeed. It's got high positive momentum displayed most clearly in the MACD. So looking very good indeed, and well picked up there by Julius and his stock selections last week, the ones that had come up from our Momentum Plus studies. I'd like to follow up on one of the stocks that Julius talked about last week, when he picked up on the opportunities from Germany, and the stock he talked about was SAXGY, which is Steuer SE. Excuse my pronunciation there. We start with a weekly chart here, potentially reverse head and shoulders, low, lower low, lower low, higher low here, neckline break on this strong candle here, but rally to 50, the big round number, and that previous high there, pull back to support. And this is where Julius had picked it up as an opportunity of one of the stocks which had come up from our scan and had very strong positive weekly momentum and had come back to support. Now let's drill down to a daily chart. Now we're looking at it from a daily perspective. So there is the jump to the 50 level, the two highs in place there. It's obviously significant resistance, but pulling back to support at 44, rising lows pattern here, strong weekly MACD reading, higher lows in the RSI, and the RSI is pulled back to below 50 and turned up. Now in a strong uptrend, when the RSI pulls back below 50 and turns up again, this is often an indication that the trend is about to resume. Here it is at support, holding at support, but Julius commented on this first just as it was approaching support. Now it's holding the support, and it looks as though the momentum is switching around to the upside. So here it could be putting in another higher low here at the support point, heading towards a retest of the resistance at 50, which is €6 higher. And finally, a look at the relative rotation graph of major currencies versus the US dollar. So the US dollar is here, and the US dollar itself has weakened a bit. Therefore, we've initiated this northeasterly direction in some of the currencies. I want to have a look at that. Not all of them, and all of them are still on a relative basis weaker than the dollar itself. But the direction of some in particular is looking very good indeed. The ones in particular that are looking very good indeed, and very good indeed, is long tail, pound, and particularly the pound and the euro. heading easterly, both the pound and the euro, and northerly, both the pound and the euro, and higher of the two is the GBP. So it's in the improving quadrant, bouncing quadrant, and I'd like to have a look at the sterling graph and look at this in a bit more detail. But look at the position of it here compared to the other currencies. It's always an alternative of other currencies. The best two, by the reckoning I've just described to you, are the pound and the euro. Marginally better of the two would be the pound. Cable is going up very strongly now, as we can see, against the US dollar, pushing ahead. Higher lows in place here, higher lows in the RSI, low, higher low, higher low, higher low, breaking resistance here, now support at 118, round about 118, heading towards resistance through this 121 handle, heading towards resistance at this 123 handle as the next level, and then at 126.75 is the next level. But the big thing is breaking this downtrend line. So the downtrend line, which has been dominating us for many months now, since March, has been broken, and we're now in a new uptrend phase, pushing towards resistances. And so, given the wobble in the dollar, perhaps your favorite may be the unfashionable Great British Pound. I'll leave it there for this week. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again with you next week at the same time, in the same place. So it's goodbye from Julius and I of RRG Research, and may the trend be with you.